Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Aisha Nwal from BS Fifth Morning, and today I am going to create some prompt based application workflows using RapidMiner and AI Studio. Let's get started. Click this PC, then click New Volume E, open Cal folder, and you will find two subfolders Cal and prompt based application. Click Cal folder. So here we have Cal design and Cal app. Cal design is used to set the prompt and workflow structure. We can insert our prompt, our fields in this workflow. While Cal app is used to execute the workflow to produce our desired output. So in prompt based application programs folder, I have made separate folders for each application and I will save all my data in these folders. My first prompt based application workflow is Professional Textbook Summarizer. And now I will create an application that will serve as a textbook summarizer. This application will extract core concepts from any textbook that the user will provide. It will also give all key concepts, arguments, critical points, and key takeaways about the book. So when I will click this document, my prompt will appear and the prompt is divided into four sections: act as a, task, output structure, and input that the user will provide. So, for the prompt, we have asked our ChatGPT to act like a professional textbook summarizer. We have given our ChatGPT a persona and we are asking him to provide us well structured and academically correct summaries of the textbooks where the user is going to provide. Also, the text and the summaries should be coherent, it should be relevant to the material, and it should be easy for the students, educators, and researchers to understand. Then, in the task, we are asking our GPT to perform the following task for our application. First of all, the first task of our application is to examine the textbook and identify the core themes, major arguments, or any key frameworks used in the textbook. So the summary should include all of these arguments, all of these key theories, and it should not skip the depth of the text. The second task that we have assigned uh, our application is to form well structured sections. So if we are breaking the textbook, the sections should be well structured and they should be comprehensible, explainable, and there should be relevant definitions, explanations, and sporting examples to support each of these sections. The third task is to and is we have defined our levels and we have asked our GPT to provide answers according to the demand of user, like the length of detail and the complexity level and the prompt of structure, and the prompt of output, like how the output should be, whether it is chapter wise, thematic based, bullet point, annotated, or study note styles. It should be according to the user demand, and lastly it should be according to the user academic level, like it can be high school, undergraduate, postgraduate, or research level. Fourthly, we have asked our GPT to maintain the academic integrity while summarizing each section. There should be a logical flow and there should be transition between ideas. Also, there should be case studies, research findings, and real world applications in the summary so that the user can easily understand and relate it to its knowledge. Finally, we have the structure of the output. The final output should be logical, easy to navigate. It should be sequential. In the user can easily interpret the what the summary is trying to say and what is the idea of the summary. So the language should be clear, simple, and academic. Now I'm going to move towards the output structure. since I have given our user some options to select what type of summary he preferred, so my output structure consists of the structure of various types of summaries. For example, if the summary is concise chapter wise, it should include section wise breakdown of the chapter. First, then each chapter should consist of introduction, key section breakdown, and final takeaways. The second type of preferred format is thematic summary. If the user selects thematic summaries, so the summary should be theme based, like first of all the introduction of the section or the chapter, then themes, and then conclusion. For the bullet point summary, it would present all the major points in a condensed manner. For this, the structure would be first there would be introduction, then key concepts and theories. Bullet points would cover all the definitions and frameworks in this section. Then we have important examples and application, and lastly critical takeaways. Fourth one is annotated summary. This format will be a critical analysis along with summary. There would be explanations, interpretations, and academic insights. So all the case studies, and there would be key concepts and their analysis. There will also be case studies and critical perspectives. Then we have study note style. In study note style, there should be study note style is typically designed for the students to for easy to understand. So there would be a well organized structure of the output. There would be an introduction, then definition and key terms, then key theories and concepts. And if there are some formulas and equations, they would also be added. And in the last, examples and quick review points. Lastly, we have comprehensive summary, and it is the mix of all above formats. This is the most detailed and well-rounded summary format, and there would be the following structure of the textbook. First of all, there would be an introduction that would introduce the textbook, its purpose and significance. Then we would have core concepts. Each concept would be explained in detail with the all related definitions, arguments, or examples. Then there would be a thematic discussion. Then at the end, we would have bullet point quick review and annotated analysis. So it would also include examples and applications, and in the end, we would have conclusion. There would be represented the key takeaways. So this is the structure of the output, and it will be upon the user demand that what type of summary he preferred. Then the output structure will be on the basis of the summary preferred format. Now we have the user input. We can also call it as field. So this is the fields or the inputs that the user will insert while demanding our output. So the user can give input into formats. Either he can give the title, author, and edition of the book. And option 2 is if there is no book available, then he can paste the text directly from the book. So next, he will tell that what chapter or what section of the summary he want to summarize, whether he want to summarize chapter 1, 2, or half book, and the user will tell all the specific requirements. After this, we have some selected options. The user will select the summary length, then he will select the academic level, and lastly, he will select the preferred summary format. Whether the user demands concise chapter-wise summary, thematic summary, annotated summary, bullet point summary, study note style summary, or comprehensive summary. This is upon the user to select between between these fields, and the output will be based on these specific fields. So let's start the process. Open AI Studio. Since it takes a few seconds, so I have already opened it. Open files and then click import process. So an interface will open on which we will select our call design workflow. Click desktop. This PC. Click new volume E. Click cal folder. I will save it as a bookmark So it will help us in saving time while generating other applications. Click Cal, then select Design Workflow, and then open it. The designer workflow has been imported into Process Panel. Click Run. Now the system will automatically install dependencies like Python modules. After the installation, the process has moved to next operator. Now we will design our prompt in this graphical user interface. First we will paste act as a, then we will add tasks one by one, and in the last we will paste our output structure. Once the prompt is fully designed, save it in your desired folder. So after a few seconds, a new interface of input designer will appear, and here we will insert our fields one by one. We can either select text or select. After designing it, select and save it as Excel. Now the prompt workflow has been designed, and I am exporting it so that next time I don't have to design this prompt again. Now we will import the car app workflow. We will follow the same process. An interface will appear, and here we will select field and then open. So after a few seconds, an interface will open where we will paste our dummy data taken from ChatGPT. After pasting the dummy data, click Finish. Now two interface will open. In the first interface, you would select prompt, and in the next interface, you would select output. After a few seconds, an interface with results will open. Either we can save it from here or we can copy the results and save it in a notepad file. Here you can see the demo of the application. We have received the summary of chapter number 3, which is further divided into core concepts, key arguments, and many further subheadings. So, this is the application which is used to generate professional summaries of different textbooks and chapters. Now, we will create our second prompt based application, which is course outline by. So, through this application, we can design professional course outlines for any subject, and these outlines will align with the educational practices, industry standards, and real world applications. This is the prompt of our application. First of all, act as a we are assigning a persona to our chat GPT. We are asking him to act like a professional course curriculum designer for various subjects. Its goal is to create a professional course that aligns with the desired learning outcomes, industry standards, and best educational practices. So, we are assigning a task to ChatGPT to act like a expert course curriculum designer in designing various types of course outlines related to the subject. So here are some tasks that we are assigning to our application. The first is to develop a course overview. There should be a course overview that should consist of purpose, significance of course, and key learning objectives and outcomes. Then there should be a structure, and in the structure there should be some clear modules, whether they can be on the basis of week, on the basis of days, and each of these module has a quick overview and learning outcomes and feedback, etc. Then the course outline should enhance engagement. It should include real world case studies, practical projects. There should be some other supplementary resources, like there should be suggested readings, online resources, and other reference material. Then the course should be according to the standards, according to the demand of the industry and real world. So we are asking our application to provide the output according to the desired demand or the user input. Thirdly, we have the output structure. Firstly, there should be a course title, and then we should have a brief paragraph that would explain the course overview. It would explain the course purpose, learning objectives, target audience, etc. Then we would have our course outline, and it is based on the type of format the user demands. For example, in week 1, there should be a title of the module. There should be a quick overview and then lessons. It would be divided into lessons, and each lesson has its lecture content, reference material. And at the end of the week, there would be an assessment. Then we have our course assessment and final evaluations, like if there would be quiz, what type of quiz would be, and the final exams or the final project. The course outline will provide this information. And lastly, we would have our additional learning materials. Like the course would suggest some additional book articles, some suggested readings. It would provide all the tools. If it is an tech-based outline, there and there would be some. There should be some online tools, links of these tools, and at the end there should be some real world roles or industries and some other facebook's groups that us learners can join in order to enhance their learning practices. So all of these details would be included in the output structure. Then we have the user input. We can also say the fields. Based on these fields, the outline will be generated. So first we have the course title. The user will write the course title in the fields. Then there is course duration. The user will write the specific months or hours per week he want to study. Like for example, 8 weeks, 5 hours per week. Then we have the select option, which is course level. Here the user can select what type of course he wants, like for beginner level, intermediate level, advanced level, or certification based. Then we have prerequisites, like if there is any type of skill, is there is any section that the user wants, the user wants for the candidates to already have. And lastly, we'll have specific topics to cover, and this is optional. The user can add some recommendations and some specific topics that must be present in the course outline. So this is all the fields. We will add all this data into the field option. So this is our prompt. Now let's move towards the process of designing it. The process is the same. First of all, we would open our AI Studio, click File, click Import Process. From here, we would move towards the bookmark, and here we will select Cal folder, and in Cal uh, we will select the Cal Designer workflow. Open it, and our process panel will open. In the process panel, we would click Run to install all the Python dependencies. After the Python independent dependencies were being installed, the process will move towards the next operator, which is design. And in design operator, we would paste our prompt, and after pasting the prompt, we would add our fields. So this is the overview of the designing workflow. First, we would design our workflow. After designing the workflow, we would save it, like we would export it. Now we are going to test our application. So for this, we would again go to File, then we would select Import Process, then Call, and from Cal, we would move towards the Cal app workflow. When the workflow will be open, we would again run it to install Python dependencies. And after this, after a few seconds, an interface will open where we would select fields, and then we would paste our fields one by one. For fields, we would go to ChatGPT and ask it for dummy data. For dummy data, we would first paste our prompt, and then we would ask ChatGPT to provide dummy data for the user input. After the dummy data is provided, we would paste the dummy data one by one into our fields option. Once the field is clicked, we would save it. Now two interfaces will open. First, in first interface we will select prompt, and in the second interface we would select output. So after the selecting these options and opening it, we would go towards the process where the application will process our fields and will be ready to give our result. After we have given the output, we would copy this output and paste it in a notepad file in the same folder where all other documents related to this prompt are present. Now this is the result that our application has provided us after putting the dummy data. So the course title is Introduction to Data Science. There is an overview of the course. Then we have course outline, and the course outline is divided into weeks. For example, week 1, Foundation of Data Science. In weeks, we further have our lessons like lesson 1.1, lesson 1.2, and at the end of the week, there is an assessment of short quiz. So the course is divided into further weeks like week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8. And at the end of each week, there is recommended readings, videos and lectures, and assessment of the week. At the end, we have the course assessment and final evaluation, where there should be quizzes and assignments, and there a comprehensive project would be there for data visualization, and there would be a final exam. It is optional if we are required to get a certificate. Also, at the end, we have additional learning resources. The output includes the recommended book articles. It includes online tools and softwares like Jupyter Notebook, Python. These are the online tools. It also includes industry applications and authentic real world resources and links. So, as you have seen, that our application has provided us the result that we demanded from it. Now we are going to create our third prompt based application program, which is Magical Short Story Creator. This application will provide us with various short stories according to the demand of the user. It can be of various genres. It can be of different length, and it can incorporate different elements according to user demand. This is the structure of our prompt. So, first of all, we are assigning a role to our system. We are asking our system to act like a masterful storyteller, which is specializing in creating fantasy fiction. And the system will create different types of stories, like it could be based on various themes. And the short stories will be consist of enchanting settings, compelling characters, and spellbinding twist. So the stories will create deep emotions in the learners, and it will be very related to the it will be very much related to the description that the user will provide. Now we are assigning some tasks to our system. First of all, the user will provide a story theme, an optional description, the graded level, and a word count. And the system will provide the output related to this default related to the input that the user will provide. Secondly, the system will generate story according to user demand, and the story will be very crafting. It will be very captivating story. There would be strong buildings, and there would be a strong character development, and the imaginations or descriptions should be very immersive and engaging. Also, there should be a balance between the narrative dialogues and simple narration. Like it should involve some natural dialogues, some deep dialogues. The language should be according to the uh, graded reader selection. Like if the level of grade is A1, it should not be too hard, but instead it should be easy. So this is the task that we have assigned. Next, we have the output structure. First of all, there should be a title of the story, a title that captures the essence of the story. Next, the story will be presented, and it would be in paragraph format. There would be there would be dialogues, there should be a climax, and there should be some story development in the story. At the end there should be moral of the story, that will the moral of the story which is drawn from the protagonist journey, and it will offer some deep meanings regarding the story. So, in order to receive the output, the user will provide some input in the fields, and the input would include, first of all, the user will select the story theme. It could be fantasy, adventure, mystery, folklore, mythology, dark magic, light-hearted magic, science fiction fantasy, fairy tale, historical fantasy. The user will select any of these type of fantasy. The user then will be provided with story description. Here he would include some specific elements or a story outline that he wants to generate. After this, he would select the graded reader selection, like the level of the language, whether it should be A1, A2, B1, B2, C1 or C2. And at the end, the user will enter the words count of the story, like the length of the story he wants to generate. This is our prompt structure. Now let's start our prompt designing. So here is the quick review of the steps that we are going to follow for designing our workflow application. First of all, we would open AI Studio, then we would we would go towards file and select file, then select import process, cal from bookmark, and from here we would select our uh, cal design. We would open it and the process panel will show. In the process panel, we would click run, and after clicking the run, the Python dependencies will be installed. After this, the design workflow will open. Here we would first paste our prompt one by one. We would add act as a and task, and then we would add our output structure. After adding these structures, we will click finish, and after a few seconds, another interface will open. And in this phase, we will add our fields, which we have called our user input. We can either select or we can either uh, text the field according to the requirement of our prompt or the application. So now after we have entered the fields, we would save it as Excel, and our design workflow has been completed. We will save it as we will export is it in our respective file where we have placed all the folders regarding this application. Now again we will select file, then select click import process. We would now enter the call application volume 2 workflow. After opening it, and a process panel will open. So from here we would click run, and it would take some time to install Python dependencies. After the Python dependencies had been installed, our workflow would move towards entering the fields. So this is the application. Now we would provide user data to our application. For user data, I'm going to ask ChatGPT for some dummy data regarding this prompt. We would first provide the prompt and then ask ChatGPT to provide dummy data for this. So ChatGPT has provided the dummy data, and now we would paste our dummy data one by one into the options that the application will provide to us. So after providing all the data, all the user input, we would click save, and then after a few seconds, two interfaces will open. In the first interface, we would select prompt, and in the second interface, we would select output. So now the application is going to run our input, and after a few seconds, it provides us the result. And this is the output that our application has provided us. We would save it in the same folder of where we have saved all our previous files. Let's check the output first. So to check the output, we would paste it in the Word document. So the total words count is 2585, which is more than 2000, which we have assigned in the field section. So we can see this in this story. There is a title of the story, then there are some dialogues as well in the story, and in the last there is the moral of the story. So we have provided with our output according to the demand, and this is the demo of this application, which fully provides us with our desired output. We will now create our fourth prompt based application, which is Professional Speech Summarizer. So through this application, we can create expert and professional summaries of different speeches. And the summaries will be clear, well structured, and it will represent the core arguments and key messages of the speech. So through this application, we can create summaries of the speeches of various fields. So this is my prompt. In Act as a, I am assigning the role a, of a professional speech to text summarization expert, which will analyze and summarize the speeches, lectures, and presentations. So I am assigning the role to my GPT or to my application to create clear, well structured, and organized summaries that will represent the core message, key arguments, and important takeaways of the speech. The task that we will assign to our application in the design workflow will include: firstly, the task is to analyze speech transcript and extract key arguments according to user specified demands, like its difficulty level, focus area, and its task is to ensure that the summary must contain the essence of the speech. Next, the task is to summarize the speech effectively. The tone, key themes, and the arguments of the speaker should be preserved in the summary. Thirdly, the structure of the summary should be clear. The structure should be logical and comprehensive to the readers. Fourthly, the tone and language of the summary will be appropriate and it should align with the tone of the speaker. For example, if a speech is a motivational speech, its summary should also represent a motivational tone. Finally, the task that we have assigned to our workflow is to highlight key takeaways and call to action. In the end, the summary will represent the key takeaways and call to action that will be digestible for the reader. This is the structure of our output. First of all, there will be a concise paragraph that will tell about the speaker and the context, including the second or including the setting or event. In the next heading, we will have the summary of the speech in which we will be given the main idea of the speaker. There will be main arguments and critical concepts and examples. And in the end, we will have key takeaways and call to action that would be either represented in bullet points or in short paragraphs. The next thing that we have is the user input, or we can also call it as field. So this is the data that we will that the application user will insert while creating some output. So first of all, the application user or the user will provide the speech transcript, which would be in text format. Then the speaker names will be provided. If the user knows the speaker name, then he will provide. If not, it will be left blank. Then we have summary length. The user will select whether the summary should be short, medium, or detailed. And in the end, we have the language or level of language difficulty. The user will determine whether he wants a summary of beginner level, high school level, undergraduate level, postgraduate level, or research level. So it's up to the user to provide all these fields to obtain specific output. So that was our prompt, and now we will move towards the process of creating the application. Open AI Studio, click File, click Import, go to Cal folder, and then open Cal Designer Workflow. Open it and a process panel will appear in front of you. Run the program to install all the Python dependencies. After this, a designer workflow will open, and here you would paste the prompt, including the act as the task and the output structure. After you have pasted the prompt, click save and then save it as in the folder you want to save. After a few seconds, the fields the field interface will appear, and here you would paste all the fields and select different types of options for the fields. After the fields have been inserted, the designer workflow has been completed. Export this workflow. Click File, click Import Process. From here, go to Cal folder and select Cal App Workflow. Open it and the process panel will open. Click Run and after a few seconds, the Python dependencies will be installed. Then the Fields option will appear. Select it and enter the fields as a user input. So for the input, I'm going to YouTube to get some transcript of a video. So I'm going to select the motivational speech transcript, copy this transcript, and then paste it in the fields. Next, select other options and save it. So now two interfaces will open. In the first interface, we will select prompt, and in the next interface, we will select output. So now we would wait for a few seconds for our output. This is our output. So you can see the structure of our output. First of all, it has a title, then in the title of the speech, then we have a short paragraph that tells about the speech. Then we have the summary of speech, which is very comprehensive and it is very in a logical manner. After this, we have main arguments in the same section, which is like embrace risk for a life of passion. Then we have critical concepts and examples like thinking outside the box, reframing failure through athletic and inventive examples. Then we have key takeaways which are presented in the bullet points in short. And in the last, we have call to action and conclusion. So you can see this is our prompt, which is very well designed, and it greatly presents a look that is easy to understand. So that was the demo of our application. Now we are going to design our fifth prompt based application workflow, which is an essay corrector feedback generator. This application will act as a coach. It will highlight all the mistakes that are present in the essay. It will suggest some improvements and also provide us the feedback. And in the end, it will rate the essay. So this will improve our essay writing creativity process and also provide us with all the errors that a student makes while writing an essay. And this is the prompt that I have designed. In act as a we will assign a persona to our application, that the application has to act like a professional essay editor, and he will provide detailed corrections, structural improvements, and constructive feedback to enhance the clarity and effectiveness of essay. Next, we have tasks. We have given our application, we have given some, added some tasks in the design of our application. The first task is to analyze and correct the essay by reviewing it for grammar, punctuation, and spelling errors. So, the first task that we have assigned is to analyze all the errors that are present in the essay. The second task that we have assigned uh, to the design of our application is to provide constructive feedback on our essay. So here, so the task says that we have to provide positive and negative feedback. The application will give both the strengths and weakness of our essay. It will also provide arguments. It will also highlight the mistakes like thesis clarity, argument development, and logical inconsistencies. The third task that we have assigned to our application is to detect and fix common writing mistakes. Here, the workflow or the application will correct our essay. It will provide us a corrected essay without any mistakes. Additionally, it will improve the words and fragments. It will improve our word choice. Not it will improve our word choice. Our it will correct our mistakes. And finally, the task that we have assigned to our application is to suggest some improvements. So this will serve as a constructive positive feedback. The application will provide positive feedbacks. It will suggest some improvements, like what kind of word choices a person can use in his essay, how he can adapt better transitions into the essay. So it will also improve the overall structure of the essay. So this is the structure of the output that the application will provide to us after we submit an essay to the application. The first point is the corrected essay. First of all, the application will highlight the errors. Then it could be grammar mistakes, punctuation mistakes, spelling mistakes, sentence structure issues, or other transition mistakes. Then it will provide us a corrected essay. After this, it will provide us a detailed feedback report, and in this report, we would have strengths, areas, and suggested improvements. After this, the output would consist of comparison of errors and and corrections. There would be comparison between the mistake type, and the application will provide us an incorrect example from our essay, and then it will provide the correct example and explanation of that mistake and the rule. Finally, the application will provide us overall R rating and final recommendations. It will score our grammar, punctuation, sentence clarity, and argumentations aspects. And it will also provide us final comments about our essay for further improvements. Now we have user input, and in the application process, it will be called as field. The first field that we would add is essay topic, and in the options we would select text because we are going to provide a text about essay. Then the second field is essay text. After this, we would select the option of text in the field, and it will help us in adding transcript of the text in while working on the application. The third field that we are going to add is type of feedback, and we would add it as select. In this, we would add default values like grammar, structure, punctuation, argumentation, clarity, or all of these errors. This will give users options to select that what type of feedback he want to generate. Lastly, we have feedback description, and it is optional. If the user have any further requirements, like if he wants some other type of feedback, he can he can write it in this section. So here the user will provide additional requirements for its feedback. So here is the quick review of the steps that we are going to follow for designing our workflow application. First of all, we would open AI Studio, then we would go towards file, then select import process. An interface will open, and here we will go. And here we will click Cal from bookmark, and from here we would select our uh, Cal design. We would open it, and the process panel will show. In the process panel, we would click Run, and after clicking the Run, the Python dependencies will be installed. After this, the design workflow will open. Here we would first paste our prompt one by one. We would add act as a and task, and then we would add our output structure. After adding these structures, we will click finish, and after a few seconds, another interface will open. And in this phase, we will add our fields, which we have called our user input. We can either select or we can either text the field. according to the requirement of our prompt or the application. So now after we have entered the fields, we would save it as Excel and our design workflow has been completed. We will save it as we will export is it in our respective file where we have placed all the folders regarding this application. Now again we will select file, then select click import process, and from here we would now enter the call application volume 2 workflow. After opening it, and a process panel will open. So from here we would click run, and it would take some time to install Python dependencies. After the Python dependencies had been installed, our workflow would move towards entering the fields. So this is the application. Now we would provide user data to our application. For user data, I'm going to ask ChatGPT for some dummy data regarding this prompt. We would first provide the prompt and then ask ChatGPT to provide dummy data for this. So ChatGPT has provided the dummy data, and now we would paste our dummy data one by one into the options that the application will provide to us. So after providing all the data, all the user input, we would click save, and then after a few seconds two interfaces will open. In the first interface we would select prompt, and in the second interface we would select output. So now the application is going to run our input, and after a few seconds it provides us the result, and this is the output that our application has provided us. We would save it in the same folder of where we have saved all our previous files. Now let's review the output or the result that our application has provided us. So first of all, we can see here the heading of corrected essay. The essay has provided us the detailed corrections of our essay. It has marked our mistakes. Then he has provided us revised essay text. And after this, he had highlighted the errors, inline annotation. Here he have highlighted all our errors in the essay. And after this, he has provided us the corrections. So now we can see here the detailed feedback report. The essay has provided us the strengths, areas for improvements, and suggested improvements in our essay. He has also provided us the comparison of errors, like first of all, for example, there is a grammar error, and here is mistake type, example of incorrect, example of correct, and explanation. And in the last, he has provided us essay rating and final recommendations and final comments and actions plans. So you can see this is the output of our application and the input that we have provided, and it is according to the requirements that we want the user to generate. Now we have seen the designing of our prompt-based applications, and we also have seen the demo of our applications, that the output provided by these applications are alhamdulillah correct, and all of these are according to our requirements.